So much discussion about the issues in Syria, the refugee crisis happening there, millions of people in need. How do we as Canadians help them? Well, we have Rosell here, who is a software designer by trade.
That's right.
But you've also helped a number of refugees make their way to Canada. How did you do that?
How did I get involved in that?
Yeah.
Well, it starts with family background. My grandparents were Polish Jews and fled Poland around the war. And so I was raised with a lot of that, raised with a lot of awareness of what people can do to each other. And that sort of tracked throughout my life. When the Cambodian genocide was happening, I got very involved in trying to raise public awareness of that. What I see happening in Syria right now, I see as a Holocaust.
Millions of people in refugee camps.
Refugee camps, hundreds of thousands dying brutally in many cases. And so I was compelled by that. I heard about the first two refugees that I worked with through mutual friends, and then connected with them online on Facebook, social media, and became friends with the first two. Eventually, they convinced me to come visit them in Beirut. And so about a little over a year ago, I flew out to Beirut and spent a week with them, met two other people who had applied to come to Canada, and became friends with them as well. And so I was involved in all four of those sponsorships at some level.
Now, when you say getting involved, they've already applied, and your sponsorship of them helps expedite?
Well, actually, I helped with the first two. I helped with their application. So I worked for several weeks with the first two applicants on their application. Other people were helping the other two with their application. The application was 152 pages long, 50 pages of government forms, 102 pages of supporting documents.
And how much does it cost out of pocket to help someone like that?
Overall, the whole entire process. If they're coming to Vancouver, you're looking at upwards of $40,000 for a couple.
For a couple.
You have to look at cost of living in different cities. The government guideline is about 19 or 20,000. That may work in a small city in Saskatchewan. That's not going to work in Vancouver or Toronto.
Fair enough.
So you have to raise a commensurate amount of money.
How important is it to have a community to land in as well? You know, there are a lot of people saying, I've got a room in my house.
Right. Well, that's not a bad thing, but this is a life-changing experience for the people who are coming here. And I think one of the things people need to keep in mind is you're dealing with accomplished adults who make it to Canada. The ones who get here on these visas are not uneducated, they're not unskilled, they're not inexperienced. These are often, I've got a journalist, I've got a dental lab technician. These are people with strong career backgrounds, and they've had their lives uprooted by something that really had nothing to do with them. And so when they come here, I think it's important to have respect for who these people are. It's not just compassion. Compassion is great, but you have to recognize that they are your peers. You know, they are not downtrodden masses that we're just reaching down to help.
Right.
And so when they come here, they need to get on with their lives too, and not just, be living in someone's basement or something like that. That's fine for a transitional period, but ultimately they need to be able to get their lives back on track.
So for those watching right now who think, I want to help, I can't necessarily have someone come live in my home, but I want to do something. What is the starting point? How do they begin?
There's a lot of money needed, as I indicated. It costs a lot.
Where does it go?
Where
do you send it?
Well, you send it. There are various organizations that gather that money. If you want to actually sponsor someone, you can. There are sponsorship groups out there, people who've come together to sponsor individuals who are all reaching out for funds. So you will hear about these. There are Indiegogo and GoFundMe campaigns to raise money. If you want to do it through a larger organization, there are local organizations like Vancouver Area Survivors of Torture, which provides psychological counseling to people who get here. There's Immigration Services of BC. There's Mosaic, which provides services for refugees. You can also donate to most of the major church organizations are what are called sponsorship agreement holders. So we worked through the United Church on these 4 sponsorships. They are part of the process. They help us administratively through the process, make sure the application is complete before it goes to the government, things like that.
Which is a big deal. You don't want it to get bounced. So if there's, we've only got 30 seconds left here with you. I could talk about this forever. There's so much minutia involved. What's the one loophole, the one lesson that you've learned that might be that nugget for somebody looking to do what you're doing? Was there one thing that you learned?
You have to be patient because the government takes a long time, and I wish it would take less time because it doesn't take a long time for asylum hearings to take place, but it takes a long time for a visa process overseas. You have to be prepared to engage with these people that you're sponsoring as their friend. Emotionally. You have to be prepared to help them wait and then help them make the adjustment when they get here. And that can have some surprises, because they're going to go through an existential crisis when they get here. So you have to be able to help them through that as well.
Thank you so much, Ron, for giving us some insight into what it means to sponsor somebody who truly needs the assistance or have an ability to send some money to the right places. We'll have those websites put up on our BT website so that you can access them should you need to.